right, let's start. There are several things I want to cover. Well, two main things and a demo. At the end, if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand so we can address those as well. One thing I want to mention is if you guys are struggling, if you find yourself that you feel like you are going through a cycle of you not understanding what you are doing, or whether you are doubting if you will get a job or not. I've been working with several people. I mean, since I started this program, I've had the opportunities to work with quite a few amount of people. And in everyone's account, I can go in you guys' account and see the progress you guys are making. And pretty much I can see what projects you've worked on. One thing, there are two things that I want you guys to avoid, because if you keep doing those two things, they would hinder your progress and it will make the process of getting a job much longer. And sometimes I've worked with several people that when it seems like the process is too long and they just give up. So try to avoid these two things. The first one is consistency. Try not to take breaks. When I started, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to work then. Then I don't get back from work till about 7, 8 p.m. The promise that I made to myself is no matter how tired I was, after work, when I get home, I have to study for at least 1 hour. At least 1 hour. Some days I study for 2 based on if I have enough energy, but at least for 1 hour, I have to study. That is a promise you have to make to yourself. No matter how busy your schedule is or what's going on, promise yourself that you will create a schedule towards your AWS goal and you will stick to that schedule. One of the things that's hurting you guys the most is the consistency part. Even I work on AWS projects and you guys feel like, trust me, I don't know it all. And I'm still learning I'm still a baby compared to some people that I work with. I'm always blown away by what they know. And if I take breaks, let's say I don't work on AWS for like 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, I also forget things. I have to start scrambling and try to figure out how do I do things. There are several times where I haven't done something for a while, and the next time I try to go do it, it's like I don't really remember how to do it. I have to reference my notes, which is also why I always say take good notes, because I reference my notes too. I still reference the videos from the lectures. The videos from the projects, I reference it to if I have forgotten what I need to do because I haven't done it in a while. So I would say being consistent is the key. You have to be consistent. By consistent, I mean at least 1 hour a day. Then on weekends, if you have more time, study on weekend. I promise you guys, I do something relating to AWS every single day. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you guys are rushing. And I understand that you guys have been there too. Trust me. And I think as we go on, I will start showing you guys some of the proof because I kept it. When I used to live check to check, I knew I was going to be here. I didn't know I was going to do AWS, but I know that something has to change. So a lot of the things that used to bother me then, for example, my paycheck, I kept all those things just to motivate me. And I still have my check from back then. I can show you guys. Maybe next time I'll show you guys. I understand the need to want to get a job. I understand that everyone's situation is different. Some of you guys are probably looking to get a job as soon as possible due to financial reasons. I understand. But I always say that the money part, making money in AWS, because everyone knows there's money in doing cloud computing. Making money is a byproduct of having the skills. It is not the other way around. You don't start making money before you build the skills. You actually build the skills. Then based on the skill sets you have, you can work in anyone's interview and demand however much you want to get paid. So I want you guys to be mindful of rushing through the projects. When I work on each of the projects, right? Let's say the Terraform projects, for example. The first time I did the Terraform project, it took me over a month to finish it because I have to go line for line, resource for resource, and understand what each resource is doing. So if I write a syntax, right, I make sure I understand every line in that syntax that if you ask me about it, I can explain it to you. Think of the project as a proof of concept. It is there to show you that, okay, this is how this thing works. But the project is not meant for you to follow along, complete it, and be done. No, the project is there just to show you how something works. You have to take that information and try to build on it and try to build other projects, other similar projects to it. So finishing the project is not good enough. You have to understand everything you've done in that project, and to test whether you understand what you've done in that project, you have to work on another project that is similar to that project. And that is how you will understand it. So I want you guys to be mindful of rushing. Because I see that a lot. I can go into you guys' account and I can see who's doing what and where you guys are. Something that I prepared for you guys, I did record the video, which I'm probably going to release sometime next week. I want to share something with you guys. Just a second. So this is how I want you guys to think of your learning phase, right? This is how I want you to think of how you will prepare to get a job. Your learning phase are broken down to 4 phases. When I learned AWS, this is how I learned it. 4 phases. In the first phase, this is where you will get the foundational knowledge you need, right? Here, you will start by completing the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner course. Once you have finished that course, you would go and take the certification exam. The reason why you want to take the certification exam is just to test your knowledge, and it helps you build that momentum. So once you have finished the course, take the certification exam. Once you've passed the certification exam, next you will take the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate course. Once you have finished that course, you will also take the certification exam for that course. Once you pass that certification exam, this is not optional. It is good to take a course on Linux. It doesn't have to be a long course. Take a good 2-3 hour course, 1 to 3 hour course that just teach you good information about Linux. And if you guys need help finding a course on Linux, I would look for a good course for you guys and I would share it with you. So take a course on Linux. The reason why you want knowledge on Linux is because literally, I don't know how many percent, maybe let's say 80 to 90% of everything you'll be doing is somehow related to Linux, and everything in the cloud is just Linux based, right? The servers you are going to be using are mostly always run on Linux. The type of commands you'll be running are similar to Linux command, if not Linux command. So having a good understanding of Linux will really help you. If you have Linux knowledge, trust me, you pretty much know 50% of what you need to know. So that is why I recommend a Linux course. Then while you are still taking the courses, take a course on like Git and GitHub. You don't have to do too much here, but just to get an understanding of Git and GitHub and what they are used for, right? Here, I don't want you to focus on anything hands-on. You are just getting the information just to be exposed to these services and what they are used for. So here, take a course on Git and GitHub just to be familiar with it. Once you have the foundational knowledge, in the second phase, this is where you will start hands-on project. One thing I would mention that in this phase, you are only going to complete the hands-on project in the management console. No Terraform, no Ansible, no Docker, no Jenkins. Strictly complete your hands-on project in the management console. The reason why you have to complete the hands-on project in the management console is because once you get the foundational knowledge here, you want to take it a step further and start building some projects in the management console that reinforces the things you've learned here. So 3 good projects to complete in this phase is you are going to deploy a dynamic web application on AWS using an EC2 instance. That is this first project. This project is in you guys' program. Then once you have deployed the dynamic web app on an EC2 instance, mind you, when you deploy this dynamic website on an EC2 instance, you will be using a reference architecture that is similar to this. Just a second. You'll be using a reference architecture that is similar to this. Not just launch a single EC2 instance in your default VPC. Because when you take the foundational, because in the foundational phase, here you would have learned about VPC and the core AWS services, things like EC2, application load balancer, auto-scaling group. Then in phase 2, when you start building projects in the management console, you want to make sure that the project covers all the core AWS services you learned in phase one. This is why in this project, we are not using the default VPC. We are using a custom VPC, and we are trying to use as much of the core AWS services as we can in this phase. Once you finish the first project in the management console, which is deploying a dynamic web app on AWS using an EC2 instance, in the next project, you would deploy the same dynamic web app. Just pick one dynamic web application that you can use as a proof of concept. We have two dynamic web apps that we deployed in the program, right? Imagine that you are actually working for a company that offers car rental service, and you are helping them host their website online so that their customers can book a car rental service through their site, right? So that's the job of a cloud engineer. Most likely the company you are working for will have some type of application or website that they are maintaining in the cloud, and your job is to host it for them. So all you need is one dynamic web app. You will use that dynamic web app to deploy it on an EC2 instance, right? Once you are done, you will now use the same dynamic web app to deploy it on AWS using Docker, ECR, and ECS packets. These are two of the most common ways that your employer would deploy their application. Nowadays, most of the companies are actually using Docker because it is much cheaper than EC2. So that is why here you still learn the EC2, then you move on to deploying the same dynamic web app using Docker, ECR, and ECS. Once you are done, then you would deploy the same dynamic web app using the reference architecture using Kubernetes. This I haven't done in the program, but I'll work on this and I'll release a project for it very soon in the future. So this is phase two. This is strictly only the management console. No Terraform, no nothing. Then once you are done with phase two, in phase three, this is where you start learning about DevOps tools that you can use to automate your deployment. The most common DevOps tools that you will hear about is Terraform. And Terraform is the tool we use to deploy our infrastructure in AWS. So for each of these projects you did here, you are going to repeat those projects, but this time using Terraform. So basically, the reference architecture that I'm showing you here, whatever reference architecture you use to complete the project in the management console, you will use Terraform to create every resources on this reference architecture. However, your VPC is set up with multiple availability zones with public and private subnets. We are using an application load balancer, auto scaling group, RDS, Route 53, S3 bucket, IAM row. You will create every single last one of these resources with Terraform. So as I was saying, you will create every single project you did here, you will create it with Terraform. So with this Terraform project, you're actually creating 3 projects. Once you are done with the Terraform project, a good idea for an Ansible project is try to use Ansible to deploy your servers and configure your servers. So in this phase, we can use Ansible to deploy a web app on AWS. That is also in your program where you saw how we can use Ansible to install applications on our EC2 instance. And we can also use Ansible to configure our EC2 instance so that our application can be available to the end users. That's the Ansible project. Then once you have a good understanding of the Ansible project, next you are going to complete a Python project. When it comes to Python project, I don't want you to think that you need to understand Python the way Python programmers understand it. If you understand it to that point, fine, that is good. But to get started in AWS and start using Python to automate things in AWS, you don't have to be an expert at Python because there is the documentation. The documentation on how to use Python to create resources in AWS is there. All you have to do is go into the documentation. For example, let's say you want to use Python to launch an EC2 instance. There's literally the syntax there for you telling you how to use it. All you do is just copy the syntax, the same thing we did with, similar to what we do with Terraform, copy the syntax and fill in whatever values you want to fill in using the documentation. And you'll be able to use Python to launch an EC2 instance, for example. So here, there is a project in your program that focuses on how to use Python to just do things in AWS. Then, once you have finished the Python project, next you work on the CI/CD project. Mind you, this CI/CD project, if you guys notice in your program too, the CI/CD project is one of the last project, well, not one. The CI/CD project is the last project in your program. The reason why this project is the last project is because this project is a combination of, it is a combination of all of this. So you have to do all of this to end up here. For you to understand everything you are doing here, you have to do all of this. Then, once you have finished the CI/CD project, you are literally ready to start applying for a job. At this point, I can say you will learn the rest on the job. So these projects are a good foundational knowledge for you to start. That is when, once you have finished this CI/CD project on phase 4, you start applying for jobs. But the mistake I see you guys making is, first, let's say you did the cloud practitioner, passed the certification exam, did the solutions architect, passed the exam, then you go straight here. That will set you back because that would make it difficult for you to get a job. Or another thing I see you guys do is you get the certification, right? You finish this in this phase, then you skip the EC2 part and jump straight to Terraform, because you hear everyone always say that in order to work as a cloud engineer, you need to know Terraform, Ansible, Python, and CI/CD. So you skip the management console part and jump straight to Terraform. That will also set you back, because in order for you to know what you are creating in Terraform, in order to understand the syntax and understand what arguments you will pick, you need to know how to configure those resources in the management console. So I always say that before you start any Terraform project, understand how to create the same resources in the management console. If you get the Cloud Practitioner Solutions Architect course, then you jump straight to Terraform, you are also going to have a hard time and you will not understand what you are doing. Similarly, if you skip this part and jump straight to the management console to start building project, you are also going to have a hard time, because in order for you to know what you are building, you need to build the foundational knowledge here. So that is why all these things are important. So let's start from phase 4. In order to get a job as a cloud engineer, you need to have skills in Terraform, Ansible, Docker, Python, CI/CD, and a cloud provider, let's say AWS. So if phase 4 is saying you need to have all these skills, all you have to do is just trace your step back. And how to trace your step back is you cannot do phase 3 until you know what you are doing in phase 2. Phase 2, you need to know what resources you are trying to create so that you can use Terraform to automate it. And similarly, you cannot complete phase 2 if you haven't done phase 1, because in order for you to even start creating resources in the management console, you need to know what those resources are, what they are used for, and have a good understanding of the cloud in general. So that is why these are important. At least you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my question is pretty much for Linux and Git. So I am learning Git, and I took the course of Linux, but then it's like there's so many commands, right? I find myself like, even though, like, how many times do I have to take this course in order for me to, like, I guess, get the command? Because at the end of the day, I feel like even when I was doing the projects, if I didn't know a command, I would go and Google it, right? But I'm guessing, like, how strong do you have to be in knowing those commands? Like, do you have to know them by heart? Do you have to, like, memorize them or something? I don't know. I'm just thinking about, is this something that you could, once I've watched a couple of videos, but I find myself still having to go back and forth. So I guess that's my question. Like, how much of it do you need to know?
Okay, so that's a good question. Remember what I said in phase 1. In phase 1, you are taking the course and you are being exposed to what is the cloud, what is AWS, what is an EC2 instance, and all these things. Similarly, your Linux course is in phase 1. So here you are being exposed to Linux. What is Linux? What type of Linux distro are there? What is the Linux command prompt? What is the Linux command? you are really just being exposed to it. In terms of the command, you don't have to memorize the command and you don't have to know all the Linux command. I don't know all the Linux command. What you need to understand is if you need to do something, what Linux command can I use to do it? And Google it. Yes, Google it. I do that all the time. And even better, there's ChatGPT now. Use ChatGPT because you asking those questions does not take away from your knowledge. The main knowledge in the cloud is, as I've always said, is you are always solving problems. That is the biggest job you are doing in the cloud. It is not running commands or creating a VPC. I want you guys to think of your cloud journey as you are solving a problem. So whatever the problem is, there is always a research phase you have to do. So if you need to do something that is running some type of Linux command to solve that problem, you don't have to know what that command is. As far as you know what you need to do. Let's say you are having an issue on one of your servers and you know that this folder is what is causing this issue and I need to delete this folder. There, as a cloud engineer, you have identified the problem and that is the biggest part of your job. Once you understand that you need to delete the folder, then however method you use to get the answer, there's nothing wrong with that. So let's say I need to delete the folder now. I can now Google it, Linux command to delete a folder. I do that all the time. The Linux commands that you will know by heart are the ones you use most commonly, which are like the changing directory, ls, cat. Some of those Linux commands that you will use on a day-to-day, you will know those by heart, but certainly you don't have to memorize it. The main thing I want you guys to be focusing on is the concept. What am I trying to do? If you understand what you are trying to do, then finding the answer, however method you use to find the answer, does not make you less of a cloud engineer. You understand? So you're just thinking more of like solving problem. So to answer your question, the Linux command, you don't have to know them. The ones that you will know, you will just know them because you use them often. The ones you don't know, yes, I'm saying Google it or use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for stuff like that all the time. If I need to write a command and I don't know what command to use, I'll just type it in there. What is the Linux command to delete a file from a folder? And it will tell you. So that is that.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
No problem. So you guys remember the two things that can hurt you on your journey is not being consistent, taking too long break, try to do it every day. And two, another thing that will hurt you is rushing through the projects and not really taking your time to go through it. The only time you will spend the most time on a project is the first time you do it. Once you do the project the first time and you dissect everything you did in that project, the next time you go and write, like for example, a Terraform code, you don't spend as much time as you did the first time because you just understand the process to write your Terraform code. Okay, I need to write the Terraform code for an EC2 instance. I'm going to go to the documentation, copy the syntax. Then from there, what arguments do I need and what values do I need to enter for those arguments? The only time you spend a long time working on them is the first time. So please, I don't want you guys to rush through the process. I guarantee you, if you can take your time and strategically go through each of these projects in each of these phases, it would increase your chance of getting a job and you will just have all the skills you need. You have at least a good foundational knowledge for majority of the skills you need to be a cloud engineer. By the time you guys start applying for jobs, you won't be nervous because if you can understand all these things, trust me, you have a good solid foundation in AWS. In the projects that I've worked on, for example, my day-to-day is always centered around this. So that is why I said, take your time to get that information. Do you guys have any question? Okay. So one thing I want to mention is that to help you guys, to guide you through the things you need to do, in phase one, I just have to trust you that you would take your time to go through the courses, take the certifications, take the Linux course, and get all the information here. But in phase two, there's something I can do. So in the program, there are those projects that start you from project 1, 2, and 3. The first project is hosting an HTML website on AWS. That is the first project. What I want you guys to do is whenever you finish any project, message me that you are ready for your assignment. Because since you guys are at different phase, I don't know where everyone is, and I cannot assign the same thing to you guys because some people are on Terraform, some people are still in the beginning. So whenever you finish, the first project is hosting an HTML website on an EC2 instance. Message me that you are ready for your assignment, and I will send the assignment to you. I feel like at this point, either all of you guys are there or some of you guys are definitely advanced more than that, but I want to start you guys from the basic. And for each project you complete, there will be an assignment for you. And I would start posting those assignments after the project. But since I don't have them there now, message me and ask me, you need the assignment for that project. And I will give you another application that is similar to the one you completed in that project. And I will give you some instructions on what you need to do. So for example, the one that I would send to you guys today that you guys should try to complete on your own is, so this is you guys' first assignment. I would send it in Slack and you guys can work on it throughout the week. So I'll give you a web file. The web file is an HTML website. Your task is to deploy that HTML website in 2 ways. First, pretty much the instructions are here. You are going to download the web file. I'm going to give you the web file. Once you get the web file, I want you guys to upload in the first task. You are going to upload the web file to an S3 bucket. Then you are going to write a script that you will add to your EC2 instance to download the web files to the EC2 instance. And the script also has to be able to do whatever you need to do to be able to host whatever website is on that file on the EC2 instance. So basically, I'll give you a web file, you upload it to an S3 bucket, and you have to write a script that will download the file from the S3 bucket to an EC2 instance and host the website on the EC2 instance. So that is the first task. And the second task is similar to the first one, but this time, instead of downloading the files from S3, you are going to upload the file into a GitHub repository. And you will also write another script that would download the file from a GitHub repository to the EC2 instance and host the website on those files on that EC2 instance. So those are the 2 first assignments. And if you need an example, I've included an example here of what the script should look like. And hints that I will give you is, how do we come up with this script? You don't come up with this script by accident. So what I mean is, in order for you to know what your script will be, what I would do is, and this is what I did in the beginning, is you would launch an EC2 instance, run your command on the EC2 instance. You will launch an EC2 instance, SSH into that EC2 instance, start running the commands that are doing the things you want to do. If you run the commands and the command work, write it down on a note and keep running all your command until you are able to see your website. Whatever commands you ran in the order you ran them to be able to see your website, those are the commands that make up your script. So this is how you come up with the script. You have to first manually launch the EC2 instance, SSH into it, run your command one by one to check whether it is doing what you want it to do. And whatever commands you run in the sequence you ran them to host the website, those are the commands that will be in your script. So this is how you come up with the script. Stevenson, I think I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. I mean, it's not really a question, it's a statement. On the website, I ask you some of the projects because before I enroll in this course, I've done it on your YouTube channel. So I want to ask you, is that a problem?
It is not, but it is not a problem. If you've done it and you understand it, that is fine. But if I give you another application and I say you have to deploy this by yourself, and I give you the instructions to do it, at that point, I expect you to be able to 95% work on it by yourself independently to deploy it. Certainly, you can ask me questions here and there, but even the type of questions you will ask me would make me realize whether you understand what you are doing or you don't understand what you are doing. For example, by the time you get to here, if you tell me you are here, and this is not pertaining to you, Stevenson, but I'm just saying, like, if you tell me you are here, don't tell me that you don't understand how to troubleshoot the issue with SSH into your EC2 instance. So you understand what I mean? If
Yes.
you are telling me that you've completed something and you understand it 100%, there are certain knowledge that comes with that project that you should have already in your skill sets. So yes, if you've completed it on YouTube or wherever, that is fine. But if I give you another assignment on it and saying, deploy this, at that point, I expect you to be able to work independently on it and complete it by yourself 100%.
Another thing, I don't know if other people do it the same way I do it. Whenever I got a problem, usually I take my time to troubleshoot it first. If I can't figure it out, I ask you the question.
Yes, that is fine. That is
Yeah.
fine. That is fine. I don't expect you guys, please don't spend 2 days troubleshooting something, but certainly I want you to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure out why something is not working, tracing back your steps, seeing if you can figure out what the issue is. Because as a cloud engineer, troubleshooting is part of your job. You will be troubleshooting every day. Like they just even add me to a on-duty call, on call. What do we do on call? You are someone that they will call whenever there's an issue and you have to help them troubleshoot it. So troubleshooting is a big part of being a cloud engineer. I don't want you guys to always try to avoid it. Yes, you have to troubleshoot. And two, certainly when they are paying you a lot of money, like in cloud, you can make 150,000 or more, right? At that point, you would even be embarrassed to want to ask someone a simple question on something they expect you to know. Because when they are paying you that type of money, to be honest, they don't train you. And I'll be honest with you guys. I had one project where I was asking my lead questions very often on the tasks that were assigned to me. And they almost fired me for that because you know what they said? They said that since they are paying me, they expect me to know what I need to do to solve the problem. So I shouldn't be messaging my lead too much to try to help me troubleshoot something. So, which is why I'm telling you guys the truth. Even if something has happened to me, I'll be honest with you guys. I'll tell you guys. Now is the time to get all the knowledge you can get, make the mistakes you can make, build the mindset of troubleshooting, doing research, writing notes, and doing all those things. Those are the skills you'll be using day to day on your job. It is not just the skills you will use now while you're working on your project and you will never use again. You would be using them every day at your job while you are working on your task, whatever task is assigned to you. So I just want you guys to get comfortable with troubleshooting. So for whatever project you guys have completed and you want me to give you an assignment on that project to test your knowledge, whether you understand it, send me a message and I would give you a project to do. If you can work on that project independently and finish it, trust me, you are ready to start applying. Do you guys have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. One of my main concerns is you go through this process as you have already explained now, and you have the skills. You can work with your management console, you can use your Terraform and all of that. So, but when you are building your resume, what are the informations that you need to have in your resume? Because now you haven't done the job professionally, but you have the skills that will make you scale through when you have a job. So how do you present yourself to an employer, a potential employer, to be considered for the job when you have not really worked in an enterprise environment? So these are some, because sometimes I tried this method when the first time I was introduced to IT. So I've learned a whole lot of things. I've learned business analysis, I've learned Scrum, and I have worked with none of them because I didn't have a method just the way you are mentoring this group right now. If not, I would have also maybe have given up on this already. But the encouragement, the style of learning, the skills to be focused on is helping coordinate my efforts right now.
Okay.
So I put up my resume, and friends were saying, put up your resume, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years. But how do you simulate, even if it is 5 years, an environment that you have not really worked for, and say, okay, I have worked in a company for 2 or 3 years. How do you skate through that? Or do you let an employer know, I don't have an enterprise experience, but I have the skills? And how do you get the opportunity to demonstrate that skills so that they know you already understand it hands-on without any enterprise experience? I think that's one of the major aspects I have with the idea of putting up resume and start applying for jobs.
Yeah, it is one of the challenging part about just going into the cloud industry without any prior knowledge. But you have to think about it. The cloud is relatively new. And also, let's even look at it from this standpoint. There are students graduating from college every year, right? They also don't have an experience. Does that mean they are not going to get a job? No. It is not so much on, I don't want you guys to focus so much on, I haven't done this in a work environment, but I want you to focus on, if an employer gave me an application now and they want me to deploy the application using Docker, ECS, ECR, and containerize that application, can I do it? If on my first day they assign a Terraform project to me, can I work independently on that Terraform project? That is what I want you guys to focus on. Do you have the skills that you need to do your job as a cloud engineer? If you have that skills, the second thing I would say that I feel a lot of us underestimate is, and I get this a lot, and I've probably also done it too in the beginning. Just because I know AWS, I know some stuff in AWS, and I am working as a cloud engineer, does not make me a good resume writer. So when we make the mistake of trying to send our resume to someone that is already working in the field, it doesn't really help you in the long run. Certainly, you can send your resume to the person after you've have a professional resume writer write your resume. So I would say don't underestimate that part. In terms of organizing your skill sets on your resume, things you already have done, things you know, things you are confident about, for those things, you will work with a professional resume writer and you will let them know these things, and they would tell you, because a lot of these resume writers, they are also either recruiters or HR people. So they understand how to structure these things on your resume to stand out. So for that job part, for the, I don't have the working experience part, I believe a professional resume writer can help you structure your resume in a way where the skill sets you have and the projects you have done are still appealing. So that's what I would say about that. But I always say it is more based on the skills you have, not if you have worked in the field. I know a lot of people that are working, well, not a lot. I know some people that are working that you guys probably know more than. Sometimes getting a job depends on who's interviewing you. Someone might be interviewing you, they can really care less. They just ask you 1 or 2 questions, they like you, then they hire you, right? And sometimes you get one of those interviews where they grill you. So it is not so much, I don't want you guys to focus more on, I haven't worked in the field, but focus more on, do I have the skills? If you have the skills, you can work in someone's interview. By the time you start talking, they already know, oh, he knows what he's talking about. So that's what I want you guys to focus on. An idea that I would also put out there is, if you get an opportunity to interview with a company, you can also suggest that, do you have a particular dynamic web app or any web app that your company uses that I can do a proof of concept for you? I can deploy the application using, I can work on a proof of concept for our next meeting where I would deploy this application using Docker, for example, or Terraform, for example. There are ways you can sell those skill sets to impress them. The first time I got a job, I did the WordPress project, and I made sure in the beginning of my interview, I mentioned it and I sent the link in the chat. The manager that was interviewing me clicked on the link, and from that point to the end of the interview, he used that project to interview me the entire process. And that was how I got my first opportunity.
Wow.
So whatever skill sets you guys have built, and you are confident that you can do Terraform project, Ansible project, Docker project, sell yourself during the interview and find creative ways to put that in their face. So that way they can give you an opportunity to showcase your skill sets in that area. There are even some interview, I've worked with some of you guys where they give you guys take-home projects to do, and in the next meeting, you present it to them. Those are ways that you can sell yourself. So I'll say not having the working experience would not limit you as much as you think it is. Not having the skill set is what will limit you, not because you haven't worked in the field before.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Do you guys have any other question?
Hi, Aziz.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Shola. I sent
Hi,
you a
Shola.
message. It's like you didn't read it. Yeah. I just want to ask.
Yeah, let me open the chat.
Oh,
When I'm sharing the screen, sometimes I don't see the messages. Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just want to ask, how did you overcome the knowledge gap? When you were working on that project, when you say you were always going through your lead, how did you overcome the gap that you needed to fulfill the job?
Okay, one thing I did is I made sure that the good thing about when you start working is whatever application they've assigned you to, you are not probably going to be working on 100 things at the same time. There will be a particular application or whatever your team does that you'll be working with on a day-to-day. So when that happened, what I made sure I did is, what application are we working on here? And how is this application built? What is the reference architecture for this application? And what services are we using here? Because it was a project that I transitioned into. A lot of the stuff was already done. So part of the mistake I made, which I can admit to, is not taking my time to fully go through the reference architecture and everything that has to do with that project and understand, okay, this is how this application works. This is the reference architecture for the application, which is the reason why I was always calling my lead on, oh, how does this work? What are we doing here? But once that happened, I went back and made sure that I understand the reference architecture, what services we are using, and what part of those services my responsibility to handle. Once I started reviewing the projects from that standpoint, my job became much easier. And in addition to that, I just give myself time. Another thing I would mention is having good communication skills. If something is going to take you longer than expected, let your manager know. For the most part, they're not going to, it doesn't count against you if you run into an issue. People run into an issue all the time or trying to resolve something. So another thing I started doing is on my daily stand-up, I would post as much details about my tasks, what I'm working on, the progress I've made, or whatever issue I'm having there. And that also helped. I'm saying all that to say, when they start paying you 150,000 or whatever, right? They expect you to know the job and know how you are going to solve your problems.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
This is Grace.
Hi, Grace.
Hi. Okay. I just want to say some of the things you said very true. Like when you're on the job, you don't have to start, reaching out to your supervisors and all of that. As a project manager or scrum master, I've witnessed that a lot. A lot of people have lost their job because they feel they are not competent. Yeah. Secondly, because another thing is, I've been on this journey since 2020. Yeah. I mean, not knowing what to do. I won't say not knowing, but not being confident on, for the fact that you are not skillful, you don't really hone that thing. That fear of going for interview is always a challenge. Yeah, so some of those things you said is very, very valid. But I remember the last interview I took, I sent that question to the chat. After the interview, they give me this to go and do it at home, and then I should send it back to them. And I said, that time, I don't know what GitHub is. I don't know what Docker is. I don't know what this is. And this is last year. And then I feel like, okay, I just have to let go. But now looking at the project, how I've gone and looking at this right now I just saw it in my archive where I, saved it. I like, wow, it's a lot. I can do this to a point right now based on what I've, based on the projects and experience, right? So I just want to say, like, we're on the right track, knowing those resources, know what they stand for, and then not giving gap. Yeah, we can do it. It's doable.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. And as you guys see what Grace post,
thank you, Grace.
That is actually something you guys can, if you've worked to this point of the project, you should be able to do everything they've said there. Because these are actually things we are doing in our project now. We use Apache server, right? We host a website that uses PHP. We actually have a WordPress project. And here, they just, instead of doing it on an EC2 instance, they want you to do it on Docker. And taking it a step further, doing it on Docker, but instead of manually deploying it in the console, they want you to deploy it with Terraform. So these are actually things you guys can start using to test yourself. Trust me, when I started, I used to spend months, like weeks, on trying to figure something out. CloudFormation was the worst. When I started, I didn't understand it. I just would sit there and try to figure it out. I even hired a tutor on Upwork, someone from India that was tutoring me at the time. It took time, but then once you will get to a point where when one thing makes sense to you, the second thing will make sense to you, the third thing will make sense to you, and they will just start falling like a domino effect, and you will just start understanding things. Understand that in the beginning, when you start learning stuff, you are a child, you are an infant in that stage, and just like a child, right? I really believe that that's really a good example. A child, for the first time, when they try to stand up, they'll fall down, they'll crawl before they start walking, right? Then from walking, they start running. But what makes a child goes from crawling to walking to running? It is because they are always consistent. They keep falling, they get back up, and they just keep making effort at those things. Studying anything and learning anything in life is similar to that. You would feel stupid the first time you try to do it, the first time you are learning, but I guarantee you, when you stick to it, when things will just start making sense to you, even you won't understand. You're just like, oh, I didn't understand this. The first time I tried to do the WordPress project, when I used to learn way back when, I said, oh, I can't do this thing. It's too much stuff. And to look at it now that the WordPress project is something I can do with my eyes closed. So in the beginning, when you guys are working on it, it feels like you would never learn, but trust me, you will learn, which is why I said consistency. You just have to stick with it. All right. Does anyone have any other question?
I just want to make a comment, Ishola.
Okay.
Yeah, Grace, thanks for sharing that. I just want to say, just to motivate others on this journey, that what I've seen so far is understanding the process, not really memorizing
exactly
the steps. Because I've done a lot of interviews, I've done a lot of Udemy courses, and believe me, this is the best you can do. This is hands-on. And thank God we have a community where we could reach out and ask questions, and we could always meet. So what I've realized in most of the the interviews I did, was most of the questions were based on what I said I could do. Yeah, so understanding the process, sometimes they don't even give you the opportunity to build web server or whatever. There were some interviews early on in my journey that ended just like 10 minutes into it because I couldn't speak the language, you understand? So they know when you're making sense.
Exactly.
So by the time you start, if you have a 30 minutes interview and you're spending like 39 minutes, to me, it means you were able to communicate. Or maybe an hour interview, you're able to hold on through the 1 hour, you're able to make sense. You're not going to get it all. And like you said, cloud is still new. Most people don't really know a lot of things. And everybody's learning on this journey. We just have to figure out how to solve solution. We have to have the mindset of problem solver. Yeah. There are so many ways of doing the same thing. So it's not going to be easy. but it's easy when you have a community like this and when you have this always there for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so I like what you said, and that is exactly what it is. It is not memorizing, which is why I said you don't have to know what Linux command you use to do this, but understand what problem you are trying to solve. And if that problem is deleting a file on your server, then we can go do a research on what Linux command we can use to delete a file on our Linux server. So it is more of solving a problem, understanding processes, but not memorizing how to do something, which is what I always tell you guys. The project, don't memorize it. Just understand the process of what we've done. Are we using multiple availability zone? Why are we using public subnet? Why are we using private subnet? Why do we need the application load balancer? Which are things you would have learned from phase 1. But in phase 2, you are just putting those things to work, and you're actually witnessing those resources working exactly how you've learned them here. That is what I would say. And for an interview, I've always said they've looked at your resume, and for them to call you to an interview, they've looked at your resume and they've decided that you have the skill sets that they are looking for. During your interview, they are going to interview you. A good interviewer will interview you based on what's on your resume. And at that point, it is up to you to shine. So if you tell them you know Terraform, let them know by the time you start speaking, they know that you know what you are talking about. They are always professional. And if you don't know what you are talking about, they won't be rude to you, but they just know they're not just going to call you back. But by the time you start speaking and when you start talking about Terraform, trust me, there's no difference between someone that's working in the industry and someone that hasn't worked there. If you know Terraform and you've built all these things with Terraform, you know it. The knowledge is the same. So that's what I would say. And I've actually, one of the guys I used to mentor, they actually called him to an interview based on what is on his resume. And somebody else, it was one of those big companies, one of the big 5 companies, and they just assigned someone random to interview you. The person that interviewed him started asking him questions on things that are not on his resume and things that is not even close to whatever is on the job description. For example, let's say he was interviewing for an AWS role that says more of like DevOps related role. The person was asking him questions about data lake and things like that. So long story short, he couldn't do the interview. And when he came back to me, he said, all the questions that I was asked has nothing to do with what's on my resume. I told him, message the company back and tell them that your interview was not really, the questions you were asked on your interview did not reflect what you put on your resume. He did that, and they actually gave him another interview, which led to an offer. And that was how he got his first job as a cloud engineer. So most of the time, they would go about what is on your resume because they know what skill sets they are trying to hire for, and they don't want to they are not wasting their time. So if they are calling you to an interview, that's because they've seen your resume and they feel you have all the skill sets, that they are looking for. So, which is why I said, build the skill sets, put those skill sets on your resume, and don't lie on your resume. You don't have to lie. Don't put all the tools you think would make you a cloud engineer and you haven't done any of those. Don't do that. Build your skill sets, put those on your resume, and I guarantee you they will serve you well. Do you guys have any question? This is the first assignment. I'm going to post it in the chat. You guys can pick however you guys want to work on it. If you guys want to work as group, everyone's schedule is different. So you guys can pair together, work as a group. And what I also want to do is we can treat the first 30 minutes of the Saturdays. We can treat the first 30 minutes of when we meet on Saturday as our daily scrum. What I want to start doing is, if you choose to do the project to simulate kind of like what a daily stand-up is, you would have to give an update on the project, what you've done, what issues you're running into, and if you have any blockers, just to give you an idea, because again, everything we are doing here is to kind of simulate what your day-to-day will be like as a cloud engineer. So if you guys are up to that, this is your first assignment. I'm going to post it in the chat. Work on it throughout the week, and next week we can discuss it.
That would be a very good idea. And
Okay.
I would suggest as well that I think Grace, she said she's a Scrum Master. And I guess Itwa as well, she's a Scrum Master. I think those we can break ourselves into groups, and they'll be our Scrum Masters to facilitate the process so that we have a real life simulation of what the IT environment really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion.
Please, before you go there, please, based on what you have here, we are not using our load balancer to displace it, only the EC2 IP address, right? That's what you're asking for.
Just the very first project, no load balancer, no custom VPC. If you have a custom VPC, you can use it, but no custom VPC, just an EC2 instance. And yes, no load balancer. Yeah. So it is strictly the very first project in the course.
Okay, awesome, good.
So the chat is always there. You guys can talk. The reason why I haven't assigned people to the group is I don't know who is everyone's schedule, but certainly maybe what we can do is you guys can message me if you want to, not message me like in the chat. I would probably post something later and you guys can put in there if you want to be part of the ongoing project, and I will assign the projects to you guys. You guys will have to work on it. Maybe we can do 1 week or 2 weeks because sprints are usually through 2 weeks. But during the first 30 minutes, you will give your updates on what you've worked on, what issues you may be facing, or what you've completed. And I'll try to create I will sign up for Confluence and Jira. So we'll have a Jira board where whoever is participating, your name will be there. So you can kind of see how everything works and how you move a task from backlog to in progress and to complete. So those will just give you a good idea of what the day-to-day will be like.
That would be perfect.
Okay, great.
Are you sending these templates? Are you sending it in this chat?
Yeah, I'll put it in the Slack channel, in the DevOps channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
So this project we have to do it individually by our own, or we're gonna be in a group?
You can either do it individually or you can post in the chat if other people are available and willing to pair with you on it. You guys can do it either individually or in a group. I don't mind. Either way will work.
So after somebody finish it, do they have to send it to you or wait until next Saturday?
When you finish it, for now, send the link to me, send the link in the chat. But since sometimes I may not get to the Slack channel on time, what I would also accept is, which is sometimes too, that's what we document under our ticket. Once we have done is you can type a note of what you've done, just a quick note, or what I will accept is like a screenshot of the site actually deployed.
Okay, so the screenshot of the site actually deployed. Okay.
Yes, so the screenshot of the site actually deployed. And in this particular task, I'm asking you to create a script. So you have 2 scripts. So you can also send the script to me so I can review them. So those are the things that you can work on in this particular task.
Okay. By script, what do you mean? Is it this bash script or?
Yes, this things you are saying over here.
Okay.
So we have to do the screenshots to actually see if the website actually deployed. Another thing is if we are using EC2 IP address, once we terminate that EC2 instance, everything goes down with it, right? So what you need, just the screenshots.
Yes, so because I don't want you guys, in case I don't get to the IP you guys have posted for me to access the site on time, I don't want you guys to leave the EC2 running. Okay. So you can terminate it after an hour if I don't respond, and just take a screenshot of it, and that will be acceptable.
Awesome. Thank you.
How's the work going to be delegated within the team members?
If you want us to do it as a group, let's just signify by just giving a thumb up. Yeah, if you want.
All right. Okay, yes, maybe that will work. If you prefer to work as a group, can you guys kind of like let me know, like
Yeah.
raise your hands.
Yeah.
And if you, okay, at least David, okay.
And do you have a specific kind of architecture that will deploy this application, or we just have to design it ourselves?
There is no architecture. It is just, okay, there is an architecture. I shouldn't say there is no architecture, but I believe I do. But it is
so that
just,
we'll know the resources that we're gonna need, or
okay,
it's just gonna be just a simple one.
it's
If it's
just
simple one, then
yeah.
everybody's gonna use different architecture at the end of the day.
Okay, it is just going to be an EC2 instance that is hosting an HTML website.
Yeah, we figured that out, David. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so
okay,
okay, and I can prepare an architecture and send to you guys with it. So to go with it, I know I have an architecture somewhere.
But normally, if you were working in an enterprise environment, when the solution architect, or when you have a requirement like this, are you the one that's supposed to suggest the architecture, or it will be sent to you?
A solutions architect would design the architecture, but it is up to you as a cloud engineer to understand it. Because remember, I said on that one project, I came on the project, the reference architecture is there. Everything is already done. So it is up to me to understand the reference architecture, because when you understand the reference architecture, it helps you do your job much efficiently. So even though you don't have to build the reference architecture, but if one is already done and you look at it and which at your job, they will have more things going on. Yeah, you need to be able to look at it and be able to interpret it and understand it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I have Elise, Grace. I don't want to mess up people's name. I'm sorry.
I think it's Komla.
Komla. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and Raisa. So who else? I think it's 6 people. I'm missing one.
I think I raised my hand too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we can break you guys up in
group of 6. You said 6 people, right? Group of 3, maybe.
Yeah, group of 3. So I don't know how can you guys at least do you mind sending everyone's name to me, please?
Yeah, sure.
I would pick you guys randomly and I'll pair you guys together. I'll send instructions to you.
Send a name in the Slack chat.
Yes, I would.
I'm putting in the Slack.
Yes, I would send you guys what group you are on. Then you guys can coordinate and try to meet whenever is convenient for you. You can assign whatever tasks you want to assign to each other. And during our meeting next week, then you can you would present whatever you've done. Believe me, everything we are doing here is very similar to what your day-to-day would be like, because there will be tasks that you have to work with other people that they will assign, other people with you for you guys to work on it together. So we just want to be as close to whatever our day-to-day will be at work as we can be. So I want you guys to take it serious. This is the very first task in a list of other tasks that I'm going to assign to you. So this is the very first one.
Yep.
Okay. I have a question. Can we be having more, like 2-3 tasks during the week?
This has 2 tasks in it.
All right.
Sadly, by the time you start going, it would get more. The task will get much complicated. So in one task, there might be 10 things you have to do in it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is just like the very foundation of it, because the next one you'll be doing, for example, you have to build your VPC, you have to configure, you have to build a whole entire reference architecture. Not designing the reference architecture, you have to implement whatever is on the reference architecture.
All right, great.
Yeah. Abiodun said to add him to the list too, please.
Okay.
And Lekon too, Mustafa too, Shola, and I think Yeti too wants to. I'm not sure. You didn't raise your hand, but you said it was a good idea, so I'm assuming.
Okay, so I have Abiodun. Mustafa, Shola, and Yeti, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I added them too.
All right, cool. By the end of today, I'll pick the list. I'll try to put, if there's more people, I'll try not to do maybe 3 to 4 people on a group, in a group, and we can go from there. Try to take it serious. I'm doing whatever the best I can to try to guide you guys and help you, just help you build the foundational skills that you need to be a cloud engineer. So the other part to it is I can't help you guys do the work, and there's only so much thing I can do to try to motivate you. Like, you have to find that motivation to want to do it, showing up, doing the work. Those are all the things that will help you. But certainly, if you are dedicated to it, I am dedicated to it too. As you guys see, I'm not charging you guys thousands of dollars for these things when I know I should be. But that's because I care more about you guys learning it. And I believe in return, I've already been blessed beyond what I can imagine. So I try not to make the money the priority of it, but I care more that if you guys are doing it, then I will be more than willing to help you guys out too. So please take it very serious. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
All
you just update us in the Slack once the group is created sometime, then we'll get together with the teams. We'll share
Yes.
our WhatsApp group number.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I would do is, I think I will create, I'm not sure if there's like limits to logging into Jira, but I would create a general email that everyone can use to log into Jira, and the tags will be in there. Then you guys can kind of like see how that works and move your tasks through the sprint board. I don't know how to organize a Jira sprint board because we have a Scrum Master, but I'll do my best.
So those messages, we have to expect them from the AWS DevOps channel.
Yes. Yes.
But can we have this assignment in the Slack pending the time the Jira board and all of that will be ready?
Sure. I would post the assignment right away.
I appreciate that.
No problem. Okay. What else are we missing? Okay. Well, this was a good session. Thank you, everyone. I'm excited that you guys are willing to participate. Edgar too wants to be part. And I'm sure Miguel too will want to participate. He's not here now.
Yeah, I'll put him as well.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for participating. I guarantee you, I am 100% dedicated to helping you guys, teaching you guys what you need to learn. As long as you are willing to learn, I'll be willing to teach you. So let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Thank you.
No problem.
I appreciate
if you don't have anything, that would be it for this week. Thank you, guys. And I would see you guys next week.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aziz.
No problem. Yeti, I think you and I need to talk. So if you have time, I'll wait online. But everyone else, have a good one. I'll speak to you next week.
Yeti is Aziz family member.
We're not, but I'm about to find out.
Aziz. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye.